Hi, this is Zach here with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Zach's Traders Cafe for Monday, the 14th of July. Apparently, a big day in France. Starting off with the FTSE 100, which is on track to hit the top of that rising trend channel from the spring of last year. Green line there now at 90.40, looking for that by the end of this month. End of day close above that, we could be accelerating to the upside within that red rising trend channel from the beginning of May. The top of the line there heading for 92.30, which I suppose we could look for by the end of August. On the downside, the old June resistance, 89.08 from memory, and the floor of that channel around that area as well, 89.10, potential support. Worst case, if there's a rug pull or tariff disaster of some kind, that would be back down to the 50-day line, 87.68, but we're not looking for that at the moment, especially with today's mild recovery after Friday's pullback. Moving on to the DAX, and here a slight rebound for this market, but the main thing is that we're still finding support at and above a rising 50-day line. We've done that for the best part of a month, and still looking for the top of that channel, 25,000, perhaps as soon as the end of this month, while we remain above the 50-day line there, 23,800. Worst case at the moment, it's probably moved back down to March. Old March resistance at 23,500. RSI still remaining just about above the neutral 50 level, although it has to be admitted the way that we gapped down at the end of last week is a potential top for this market, so we are watching out. I think the gap higher on at the end of last week, and then the gap down as well, something which we've also had today, would normally be a potential topping signal. Moving on to the situation of the Dow, and here it's all about this market trying to get out of this little range we're in, basically 44,000 to 45,000. I'm quite happy here, I suppose, but looking for this market to deliver a weekly close above 45,000, and then as a best case scenario, head to the top of that rising trend channel, 47,500 from May last year by the end of next month. On the downside, initial June resistance there, 43,100, a potential place for this market to park. The other point to notice is that 50 and 200-day lines very close together now, ready for a golden cross, presumably by the end of this week. And the run up to a golden cross tends to be the strongest part of the cycle. So we are kind of overdue a decent up day for this market. Moving on to Bitcoin, where it's difficult not to say I told you so, but I suppose one has to be modest about these things. Rising trend channel here from spring of last year. Top of the channel there now heading up to 126,000 as it obviously rises by the day. That's the target here by the end of this month. And we're looking for that while we're above initial resistance for July around the 117 mark. So above 117, looking for 126 now on Bitcoin. The rally, the breakout was foretold by the break of that resistance line there from back in May at 110,000. That broke the logjam, which lasted about 2 months, and hence the decent momentum on the upside that we have at the moment. Worst case is that we have to retest 112,000, the May peak, before we then head higher again. If you're a fan of this market and looking for greater glory, which I suppose there are one or two people who may be doing that, then there is a line of resistance there from the end of March. That would be the acceleration channel, if we get that, and that would hopefully be something we could see by early in the autumn, if that's where this market wants to go. But at this stage, just looking for 126 now. Moving on to gold, and I suppose this market has been slightly sidelined by the successes of Bitcoin, but here you can see that we are notionally still in that rising March trend channel, the floor of the channel there around 32.70. Above that, the initial target here, 34.30, which is a May resistance line. And if we can break that, then we'd probably expect the kind of breakout that we've had in Bitcoin, and that would head or take this market up to 3,800, potentially by the end of next month. Only missing ingredient at the moment is the way that the RSI is still below neutral 50. Otherwise, we closed above a rising 50-day line, which does suggest there is momentum ready for the next move to the upside. Moving on to the stocks, and a gold-related stock is Ariana. Here we had this nice little consolidation. A bull flag breakout has been the result through 1.5. Initial target here around 1.8 pence, and obviously then we have 2 pence, which was the old February resistance. Looking for that perhaps as soon as the end of this month, if we're lucky, on this situation. Decent news today from the company, so looking for up to 2 pence over coming weeks. Onto a stock where the trend has been relentless, and we've had a bull flag mid-move consolidation breakout through the 30 pence level. Above 30 pence, obviously we had that one of the, I think, the fourth or fifth target there, 30 at 33 pence, so just missed that today. But hopefully we'll get a bit more of, well, in fact, we hit it today, the intraday high 33 and a quarter. Got a line of resistance there from April heading for 38 pence, and that's the best case scenario target for the end of this month while we remain above 30 pence on Empire Metals. One or two people interested in the fate of geo exploration, literally one or two people. Here we've had the rising trend channel that I drew, also got steeply rising 50 and 200-day lines, so looking for 0.23 pence in coming days is a minimum on the upside, and then after that we've got the gap to fill at 0.28, which if we're lucky we might get by the end of this month. RSI 50 rebound, and a rebound for the shares above the 50-day line, which is a decent signal, as is the way that we've got this saucer turnaround, and arguably this is a cup and handle, or the handle on a cup and handle, if you are so minded and if you can use your imagination. A stock which looks incredibly poised at the moment, or primed at the moment, is GCM Resources. Here we've got this W-shaped turnaround, the neckline there at basically where we are at the moment, 5.25 pence. Above that, on an end-of-day close basis, looking for up to the top of the range there. There's nothing really between 5.25 and 10 pence. And the measured move as well, the depth of that formation, 1.5 pence to 5 pence, means that we're looking for at least 3.5 pence of upside. So 9 or 10 pence on track there, hopefully as soon as the end of this month. But that looks like a very strong pattern indeed. You don't normally see those. 3 bounces for the RSI off neutral 50 in the recent past as well, which is, in fact, 4, I think. Very impressive indeed. On to Gunsynd, where the market, after many years of being quite lackadaisical about it, has all of a sudden decided this is a cool place to be. 0.2 pence was the old target line there from back in May last year. It's obviously been hit on the nose today, which is obviously very pleasant and pleasing. The other point to note is that an end-of-day close above 0.2 pence should then basically give us a gap fill up to 0.25 pence. Hopefully that happens by the end of this month. Ideally, we stay above October resistance at 0.16 on that situation. You can see that the rally started with an unfilled gap off the low, and that has worked as a buy signal, as is the way that the 50 and 200-day lines are both rising, and there has been an RSI 50 plus rebound. Onto a stock which you might have thought in the current environment we'd be heading for the stars, but so far just starting to head for the stars. The top of that falling trend channel on the 200-day line at 50 pence. We're looking for that over the next week or two. Best case scenario by the end of next month, up to 72 pence, which is the top of that falling trend channel. But the sizzle here, apart from the uptrend line in the RSI window, which tends to provide momentum, is the way that we've had an unfilled gap to the upside on Friday, and the market has followed through on that. Obviously, that failed back in May, but maybe with the 50-day line rising and that RSI uptrend line support, now will be the time that we actually take off and take KR1 back to where one would have thought it belonged, towards 100 pence. Moving along to Nuformix, where again one or two people seem to be very keen about this company. What's interesting now is that we still have our line of resistance there at 0.12. That needs to be broken, but at least today we've had a break of the 50-day moving average and an RSI 50 rebound, so that should at least give us 0.12. Ideally, we get to 0.2, the top of the range, by the end of next month or even sooner, while we remain above 0.08. On to a stock which is on the Aquis market and starting to move. ProBiotix following through from Friday's strong a strong move to the upside, or a strong rebound rather. Here we've got the 50 and 200-day lines both rising, probably a day or two away from a golden cross, and you can see the shares responding in kind. Top of the channel there, up to 14.5 pence, looking for that perhaps as soon as the end of this month. On to Solvonis, where there has been a decent rebound after the placing last week. In fact, we're well above that. Normally very good news when a stock rises away from the placing price, which I believe was 0.3 pence. Also gapped up, so very, very keen indeed, this situation. And looking for 0.45 by the end of this month, which we've been looking for quite some time. Upside value while we're above the initial June resistance at 0.32 on an end of day close basis. So you can see all those bounces for the RSI above neutral 50 as well, adding to the positive mix. Stock which we were on to when it started, obviously suppose everyone else was onto it as well with the vertical move that we had in May, is Symphony. Here we've found support above the initial target there, 11 pence, and looking for more. What that could be is actually the resistance line projection from back in, if I can get it on the chart, back in 2022. The upper parallel of that rising trend channel base, the second upper parallel is 22 pence, looking for 22 pence by the end of next month, while we're above 11 pence on Symphony. On to the last two. The first one relatively obscure, which is S Ventures, and here we've got this V-shaped turnaround. In fact, it's a W-shape because we broke the neckline there at 0.42. Just the feeling here that we're in a rising trend channel base, which has its price channel top at 1.6 pence, or up towards 1.6 pence. Looking for that by the end of, I suppose, August, if we're lucky. Initial target 0.8, which is the floor of the gap down that we had before, but if we get through 0.8, we could see the shares move quite sharply. On to the situation at Tau Alpha, or otherwise known as Satsuma, rather complicated at the moment, sort of different names like David Bowie, but we've got a rising trend channel here. You can see there is a resistance line, or there's a line of resistance there through the 10.5 pence level at the moment. So we need to break that. If we can break that, then we should be up into the mid-teens or even upper teens pretty quickly. Support, the logical support there, 7.25 pence. Maybe some people might to buy any dips down to that zone, but the RSI is still holding above neutral 50, which is a positive over and above the 28% rise we've got at the moment. That's it for me today. More updates tomorrow.